So basically, we were discussing yard diagram. Basically, that is the first step towards designing the database. And we know entity, we know relation, different types of attributes. So basic things we know. We have mostly focused on binary relation and basically the constraints on binary relations. In general, we say structural constraints, which is mapping cardinality, those 1:1, 1:many, or many is to 1, many to many, and participation constraints, that is total and partial. And we have seen that the total participation, that is also known as existence dependence. The entity type which is totally participating in a relation, that is since its initiation, it will have relationship with the other. That's why it is totally participating. So as if that is existentially dependent on the other, as if. So it is also known as existent dependence. Now we are aware that attributes already we have seen in relational model also, here also. The attribute which will have unique value for each and every entity, we say that is the key attribute. And whenever we define or describe visually the entity type and the attribute, the key attribute is underlined. So if your key attribute is composite one, say A is composed of A1, A2, and together they will form the primary key or key. So this is the way. Don't go for these. This is not the correct representation. That separately I will show A1, A2 underline. It means individually this is a key, individually this is a key. So if it is a composite key, then you show as if A is a consisting of A1, A2 and underline A. To denote that we have a composite key. Now entity type, strong entity type, weak entity type. Strong entity type, it means it has its own key. Weak entity type, such entity type do not have its own key. Suppose we have, say in the bank, we have a customer holding the account. Customer owns account. Say this is many to many. Say customer has nominee. I don't know whether more than one nominee is possible or not. Even if this is a one-to-one. Say nominee has attribute name and say relation. So relation with the customer. Now see, theoretically it is possible that different customers, say nominee is wife of the person, or son of the person, or daughter of the person, customer. If it is like this, say two different customers may have nominee with the same name and maybe that relationship also same. See, I can remember there was a student who was 1 year senior to me, used to stay in the hostel, having the same name. So if his father maintains an account, keeping him as the nominee, and my father maintains an account, keeping myself as the nominee, so we have the same name, same relation. So it doesn't have any primarity of its own. Then this is weak entity type. It is denoted like this. So this is the way here name of the entity. This is the weak entity type. Now suppose given a particular customer, we can uniquely identify using the name. Even if this is one to many, if I assume that a customer can have multiple nominees, if it is allowed. Obviously, in the same family, same relation, same name, that will not occur. So, given a customer, we may get a subset of the things, subset of that particular entity set was related to the particular customer. Within that subset, name can act as the identifier. Say for an employee, say for a customer, say C005 customer code. For that customer, we have, say these are the say subset which are related to this one. Now within this subset, we can have this one, some attribute that can act as the identifier. It is denoted by broken line. It is denoted by broken line. So this is nothing but the partial key, or we may say discriminator. Partial key or discriminator. So basically, weak entity type do not have any primary key, but they have a partial key or discriminator. Now see, it must totally participate in the relationship. It must totally participate. So weak entity type must totally participate in the relationship with the entity type on which it depends. So it must participate in the relationship. So it will be a total participation from the weak entity type in the relationship with the entity type on which it depends. So in order to identify a particular element here, first of all we have to know who is the customer. So on the corresponding side, if we get the particular element, then by the relation we can find a subset. Within that subset, using this partial key, we can identify a particular element in the weak entity type. So that's why this relation is known as identifying relation. So it takes part totally in the relation. So in order to identify an instance of weak entity type, one will have to know the instance of the entity type or instance of the entity type on which weak one depends. Once that is given, traverse the relation to obtain the subset of the related subset from weak entity set. Use the partial key to identify specific instance of weak set. So given the customer will be getting the subset from here, then use this partial key to identify the particular one. So such a relation which is used for identification is called identifying relation. Right? And obviously it has to participate totally physically. Nominee of a customer, so if the customer doesn't exist, I cannot have the nominee. So whenever I am saying nominee, obviously for which customer? So it totally participates in the relation. So that is the weak entity type. Now it's not necessarily that see a weak entity type takes part in the identifying relation. Not necessarily the one on which it depends, it will be a strong one. It itself may be a weak one also. So basically this weak entity type is again depending on another weak entity type, which may depend on some strong entity type. Right? So these also may be the situation. So that's why I have said all the time, I have said it is depending on another entity type that may be strong, that may be weak. But obviously, if it is depending on weak, at some point of time in the chain, the weak entity type must have dependency on some strong entity type. Otherwise, we cannot identify those things. So, given a particular system, or whenever we are studying a system, we have to map those things into the form of ER diagram. So, we are capturing the information. Say, in a system, I want to store the information of all the students in the university, say, and all the departments, department information like say department code, which is unique, department name, etc. etc. For every student, the registration number, loan name, etc. etc. And which our system should be able to say which student is studying in which department. So we'll have to maintain a relation. It's not necessarily at the very first instance we will be able to identify all the attributes and all those things. You study the system, interact with the your user, your client, look for the documents in the manual system, they may maintain some registers, the papers, so you go through that, find out what are the informations, etc. etc. Later we may put the mapping cardinality and other things. It's not that at the very beginning we will be putting everything. You may not be able to put gradually. Gradually it will be enhanced. Say a student studies in one department, but in a department I can have number of students. And say there are faculty, similarly some attributes will be there. I need to store the faculty information also, and say with which department the faculties are associated. So department has faculty. If I assume that one faculty can belong to only one department, multi-department affiliation is not allowed, then a faculty can belong to one department, but in a department we can have number of faculty. If we assume that every student must be associated with some department, then a student must totally participate. A faculty must correspond to some department, so totally participate. If it is so that a department can have no students also, then this is not totally participation. If it is so, then it will be two-way, totally participation. So anyway, say faculty, say subjects, say faculty is specialized in, to give meaningful name to the relations also. Normally left to right, whenever you traverse a relation, when you study, left to right, top to bottom. That is a normal convention, always may not be feasible. So faculty is specialized in subjects. A faculty may be specialized in multiple subjects. On the subject, there will be multiple faculty. So this is manifold. So these ways we can develop the diagram. Now see, we'll have to map this. Now from these, we'll have to map it to relations of relational model. So we have to go for mapping. So mapping entity and relation of ER diagram to, in relational model everything is relation of relational model. See, if we can map down to the relation, now if you are working with the say pi-based system, every relation will correspond to every relation of relational model will correspond to one file, or in database management system that will correspond to one relation in my database, in my relational database system. Or commercially we say table. Commercially we say table. So the relation that will be designing here, relation of relational model. So as if that will be a file structure, if I go for a file-based system, in RDBMS commercial, whenever we will be working using some commercial language, our relation corresponds to a table. Everyone will be going for SQL, basically a relation of relational model corresponds to a table in SQL. So that's why it is important that we have captured the requirement. We have interacted with the end user. We have studied the system, the data requirement and their relationship. Those have been captured into the yard diagram. That is the initiation of database design. Now it has to be mapped to the relation of relational model. First of all, for each entity type, strong, or I would say strong entity type, create a relation. So we'll be creating a table or creating a file for every strong entity type. So in our ER diagram, it is identified, say, registration number, role, depending on the requirement, we may consider, okay, this is my primary key or this is my primary key. It depends. So basically, that some key is identified. So we create a relation considering these attributes and the primary. So attribute of the relation will be of relation. It will be same as attribute of the entity type. And primary key of relation is the key attribute of entity type. If we have multiple candidate key, each candidate key will be unique, so we can have some type of support in the SQL that we will see later. Now see, whatever we are doing, the relational model says that the attributes must be single value. So if there is any, forget about the single value case, let us say the simpler one, atomic. So if there is any composite attribute, then decompose it. So for some entity type, if we have the things like these, say A1, B is consisting of B1, B2, like these. Say C, say A is the primary. So for this one, we will consider a relation where this is the primary key. We will not consider B, we will be considering the simple attributes, atomic attributes that forms B. We will not consider B. And again, attributes must be multi-value, single value. So if there are multi-valued attributes, then there is a violation. Suppose say student, say having registration number, name, say multiple phone numbers. And the other attributes. So there is a multi-valued attribute. So if we have the multi-valued attribute, how many multiple values will be shown? So you may say maximum 5 phone numbers are there. Then for every student, if we give the provisions for phone 1, phone 2, phone 3, phone 4, phone 5, maybe that for most of the students there is 1 or 2. Then only say 0.01% will be having more than 2. But we are keeping the provisions for 5. So there will be wastage, null value, etc. etc. Now again, you are searching for a phone number. Who is the corresponding student? You have to search for phone number 1, you have to search for phone number 2, you have to search for phone number 3, so lots of problem is there. Right? So if we have multi-valued attributes, I am making a use statement. Later we will dig into this issue when we go for normalization. Basically, normalization is the formal process for designing. After this mapping, we have to go for another step, that is called taking care of functional dependency. This is one kind of concept we talk about in the context of relational model. So that will we discuss later. So for the time being, put multi-valued attribute in a separate relation. So whenever we will be creating these, converting these, say student, so we will remove the multi-valued relation from here. Multi-valued attribute. So phone number will not be kept here. So if I put phone number in another relation, how to identify that it belongs to this particular student? So this primary key has to be copied here. So copy the primary key in new relation. So in this new relation, this is copied. So this is a separate relation phone. What will be the primary key here? A student can have, say, a student registration number R1 can have multiple phone. Right? So basically, this one alone cannot be done. This one alone cannot be the primary key because it is not unique. If the student is having 3 phone numbers, the student will have 3 entries. Now, in this particular example, if the phone number is not shared, it is so that 2 brothers are studying in the department. For the second number, they have given a common one. Then this number also may not be unique. But in this particular case, if it is known from your domain that this is unique, then it can be your primary key or primary key in new relation will be primary key copied from the original relation union the multi-valued attribute. Right? If it is unique, say some multi-valued attribute may be I mean, it may not be shared between the, if it is not shared between the students, okay, you can consider. But in the worst case, the primary key will be the copied primary key from the actual relation union the multi-valued attribute. For the time being, let us stick to this. Right? So as if this may be the thing. In this particular case, it may be only registration. But anyway. And then see, can we identify any other constraint? Can we have any registration number here which is not present in the student list? So if even if this is part of the primary key, this is also a foreign key. So that means in order to deal with multi-valued attribute, copy multi-valued attribute or remove multi-valued attribute and put in a separate relation. Copy the primary key of original relation to new relation. So that is not being removed. Copy. Here I have said remove. The multi-valued attributes will be removed from the original relation and will be put into the new one. But see, the primary key of the original relation, that is copied. So it will be remaining in the old one, it will be copied to the new one. This is to maintain the connectivity. Primary key of new relation. This is for the time being. In the worst case, primary key of original relation which was copied, union the multi-valued attribute. This is the worst case. Otherwise, depending on the situation, it may be decided whether the multi-valued attribute itself can be the primary key of it. Now, in the new relation, copy primary key of original relation. Will be foreign key referring to original relation. So that means, see, say student and phone. So the multi-valued attribute was taken away here. So this registration number is referring to the original one. Right? So these will formally study in normalization. Basically, we take care, even if we don't take care of the issue at this point of time, finally from the ER diagram we go for the mapping to the relation. Every relation once again will be subjected to the normalization. That is the formal process. Basically, the first normal form will take care of this issue. That time we will be discussing it in more detail, because in this particular context, whatever the book presents and whatever I feel, there is certain differences. Again, if we go by the book, then some problem will remain. That has to be taken care at the fourth normal form. So if we want to avoid the fourth normal form, we have to define the first normal form in a much more refined manner. That we will see only before normalization. So now we have talked about the strong entity type. How shall we map the weak entity type? So if we consider, say we have entity type A with the key these things. This is our identifying relation. This is the weak entity type B that totally participates in the relation. It has the partial key, say B1, other attributes, say B2. Right? So for this one, already we have understood. Okay, we'll consider a relation A1, A2 if there are other attributes. Say, for the sake of simplicity, all are actually considered that. It will be like this. But what about this weak entity type? If somebody thinks B1, B2, if we think about the relational model, the state of the relation or relation state is a set of tuples. In a set, no two tuples are same. That we have seen as a characteristics of relational model. No two tuples are same. So in every tuple must be different from the other one. As we have taken the example that I had a senior having the same name like me. So if we are the nominee of our father, so in both the cases, this is the name, this is the relation. Same name, same relation with the parent. Right? So we don't have any, we cannot assure that even B1, B2 together will be unique. So we know that it totally participates. How we will be identifying as we have discussed. This is the identifying relation. Given a particular element instance from here, going by traversing the relation, we will be finding a subset. In that subset, we will be using this one for identification. So how to get that subset corresponding to the particular instance of the entity type on which it depends. How to identify the instance of this one using the primary key of this. So here we will be copying the primary key of the entity type on which it depends. So in order to map the weak entity type into the relation schema will be primary key of entity type on which it depends, union its own attributes. So we will be creating a relation as per relational model in SQL or maybe or in a file-based system. This will be the structure of a file. So we will be copying it will be the primary key of entity type on which it depends. So we have copied this A1 here, its own attributes. Okay. And what will be the primary key? Primary key of the weak entity type will be primary key of entity type on which it depends, union the partial key. Union the partial key. So this two. That is the most general one. If I assume this is 1 to n. If it is not 1 to n, if it is 1 to 1, then only this thing is sufficient. But this is the worst case scenario, that primary key of the thing that I have copied, union is partial key. This is the partial key. But if it is 1 to 1, as this one can have only one instance, then this is good enough. But this is the worst case. Any other constant we can say? Can we have any value for A1 which is not present here? Say this is your customer of the bank, and this is the nominee of the account. Customer specifies the nominee. So here basically this is the customer code. So in the nominee file, can we have any customer code which is not present in the customer? So obviously then these will be the foreign key. So for the weak entity type, whenever we are going for implementing the weak entity type, copied primary key of, I'm not writing the same thing again. Copied primary key means the primary key of the entity type on which it depends will be foreign key in weak entity type, in weak entity relation. It will be referring to the relation on which it is depending, which it participates totally in the identifying relation. So it will be referring to that. So see, whenever we have talked about the mapping of the multi-valued attributes or the weak entity type, see, we are also identifying the foreign keys. Right? This will help us later. That means whenever we are going for some kind of relation of breaking, we are getting a primary key, foreign key kind of relationship. So now we have the binary relations. We have the constraints. Remember the constraints, the mapping cardinality and also the constraints, participation constraints. These two together we have to consider whenever we are going for mapping the relation. How will we maintaining the relation? We have talked about the entity types. For every entity type, be it strong and weak, we will consider separate relation or table. How we will be designing what are the attributes, whether primary key, there is the case of foreign key, those we have seen. Now, suppose it is 1:1. Then let us consider we have customer owns account. Say the bank has put the restriction a customer can have only one account and no joint holder is allowed. Let us say. Then this is 1:1. So as if we have a customer relation like this. Suppose we have the attribute of the relation, say last access date. Say classically we have done these things, say customer name, date of birth, I am assuming single value phone number. Account, it is having account number and balance. Say if it is this kind of thing, there may be multiple ways to maintain this relation of ER diagram. So we are trying to map the relation of ER diagram into the relations of relational model. So one approach is that foreign key approach. See, a customer can have only one account. So if I put, this may be one way that as a part of the customer, I will be putting the account number, right? Then I can find out which account is related to which customer. If it is so, then can we have any account number here which is not present in the list of the accounts? This may be a foreign key referring to this. Or somebody may say that, okay, I will not be keeping the account number here, rather I will be keeping the customer number here. And then I cannot have any customer which is not present in the customer list, so it will be referring. So in this approach, it says that copy the primary key of one relation into another, and there it will be foreign key. So see, the issue of foreign key is coming into the picture. If somebody considers that I will be keeping the account number along with the customer, so okay, but it will be the foreign key referring to this, or it will be vice versa. But see, in which side shall I keep this? If it is so that for every account there must be a customer, then it totally participates. But the bank may maintain a list of possible customers also. They are yet to open any account. If it is so, so it depends on see your situation. Then customer is not totally participating. But the account is totally, for every account, I have a customer. So account totally participates in this binary relation. Now, at this point of time, in the customer side, if I try to write account number, it may so happen that customer is yet to open any account. Null value may appear. So this I will not follow. But in the account side, if we give the customer number, then as account totally participates, so always if you have a customer, so null value will not appear here. Whenever we are designing, our one goal is to that minimize the appearance or occurrence of the null value. That has to be reduced. So right, so that means if one relation, see if rather I should write if one entity type totally participates in the relation, then copy the primary key of other side and it will be foreign key here. Right? For the reverse situation, for the reverse, there may be, it is possible to have the null values. Right? The second approach, say if both are totally participating, there is a concept called merged relation. In this case, instead of keeping, so here not only 1:1, both are totally participating. So instead of mapping. See, still one can follow this kind of approach. That okay, I will be copying the primary key of account here or vice versa. Now, another factor comes into the picture. What is the frequent requirement? If it is so, frequent requirement is that given the customer, I want to find the account. Then this is known. So along with the customer, if I have the account number, it is easier to look. Right? Suppose I am keeping here customer code. Now the requirement is that given a customer, which one is the account? So in the total account is identified. But if this end is known, if the customer is given, along with the customer, if I have the account number, then directly I can find the account. So from which direction I will be traversing frequently? Or the frequent requirement is that given the account, which is the corresponding customer, then it is better to have customer number here. Right? If it is from both the sides, then you have to go for redundancy. So whenever we are allowing for the redundancy, then we have to take the burden of maintaining the consistency and all those things. Then one can keep the customer code here also. Sorry, account number also here and customer code also here. Or the other alternative is that instead of mapping the entity type in separate relations, one thing I have used, say in the foreign key approach, if I keep the primary key of this thing here, then the attribute of the relation that will also be copied. In foreign key approach, attribute of relationship, that is our last access, will also be copied into the entity type where primary key of other has been copied. So if we consider that in the account I will be keeping the customer code, then along with that I will be copying the last access. Or if somebody goes for account number here, then also copy the relation attribute of the relationship there. Now in this case, if we go for a merged relation, see 1 to 1, and both are totally participating. Customer always has an account, and account always has a corresponding customer. Then why should I keep a separate relation for customer, a separate one for account? Rather, one can go for, say, customer account combined relation with all the attributes of both and the attributes of the relationship if any. So customer code, customer name, phone number, account number, balance, last access. So separate, instead of a separate relation, combine in one relation. So what will be the attribute? Union of the attributes of the participating entity types and the attribute of the relationship if any. So that is the merged relation. And the third approach is the cross-reference relation. or relationship relation. Here, create a separate relation for the relationship in airtime. Say in this situation, it may not happen. If it is so that both are partially participating, both are partially participating. In this case, obviously in the bank, we cannot have any account without the customer. So it will not happen. But theoretically, so suppose say student and say hostel. A student will not stay in the hostel. Oh, again, this is not one-to-one. So connect it. Say, let us make a generic form. Say R, it has some attribute R1. Then this is B, B1, B2, etc. A1, A2 like this. So this is 1:1, but not both are partially participating. Now see, if we go for a column key approach, then right now we have A1, A2 like this, another B1, B2 like this. So we'll be copying the primary key of the other. If I copy it here, B1, and also then I will copy this R1 here, and B1 is referring to this. Now, as A is partially participating, so E may not have any related instance, so then we have to allow the other. Same thing, if somebody thinks that, okay, I'll be putting the things, I'll be taking the action here. So copy the primary key of the others, referring to this, in that case, R1 will also come here. Then again, as this is also partially participating, may not have any related instance here, so we have to allow the null term. If you are ready to allow the null term, fine, you follow any of these. But if whenever I am maintaining the association, whatever may be the mechanism, if I go for a merge kind of thing, then also there will be null term. But if it is so, or the partially participating case, whatever approach if we follow, 1 or 2, it will give rise to null term. If we want to avoid, they both are partially participating, then this is the ideal one. So for this one, we create a relation, separate relation in relational model. Then what will be the attributes? Primary key of the related entity type. So this will show A1 is the primary key of these. So if we have an entry for A1, B1, so using that I can identify the element here. Using B1, we can identify the element here and the attribute of the relationship. Right? So whenever we are creating the new relation, it will have primary key of related entity type and its own attributes. See, these copied primary keys are also foreign keys. So obviously these A1 will be referring to this one, This P1 will be referring to this one. Right? So see, whatever approach we will follow, merged relation, foreign key approach, or cross-reference relation, everywhere we are getting some relation where we can identify the foreign keys, which will be referring to primary key of some other relation. This is very important. So far, we have talked about the mapping of only 1:1 relation. We are yet to go for one to many or many to one and many to many. So, rather, I will stop here today. We will continue in the next week.